Somewhere, within a dark, abandoned slaughterhouse, meat hooks swing in the air. A soft clink every time they hit one another. A businessman sets a briefcase on a counter, opens it up, and gazes at the countless $100 bills. He tells the procurer of the briefcase, "So, you probably know the Kingpin was working with ninjas lately, but he kept some of the guys from the old days around, like me. You can't send freaking ninjas to negotiate with the Chicago outfit. Know what I'm saying? Dark in here. Anyway, a while back, Mr. Fisk got some dirt on Spider-Man. You know, all the tech he uses. Some test tube jockey named Peter Parker makes it all for him. And that's legit. 'Cause when we snatched the kid, Spidey came running. Now, I'm no snitch, okay? I'm only telling you, 'cause since Spider-Man whacked Mr. Fisk, I'm out of a job. And I remember you from the old days. Top notch, button man. You did nice work for the hood. So, I know you can use this. And you're good for the dough, which I can most definitely use." Huh? Newspaper? The businessman wonders aloud as he examines the money closer. Under the first layer of $100 bills, there isn't anything more than cut up pieces of newspaper. The man he's speaking to steps out of the shadows. "Regrettably, I find myself unemployed as well. Hard times for us all," he says before baring his fangs and attacking the businessman by biting down on the man's jugular and ripping out pieces of his flesh. "But soon, very soon, the name Blackout will once again be synonymous with murder." Elsewhere, in Central Park West, within the condo of Aunt May and Uncle Jay, Otto scarfs down wheat cake after wheat cake. Aunt May can hardly believe her eyes. "You're not Peter Parker. Who are you, and what have you done with my nephew? I swear, I haven't seen you eat this many wheat cakes since you were 16. Otto tells Aunt May that the cakes are delicious, and he could certainly eat another stack right now. Jay, however, tells Otto to slow down. If he keeps eating like that, he'll wind up an overweight middle-aged man. "Hush up, Jay. My nephew's always been too thin." Otto gives Aunt May a peck on the cheek. He tells her, "And now that I'm my own boss, I can make time for what's really important. Things I neglected before, like regular exercise and being around the people who mean the most to me." This makes Aunt May blush, and she runs back into the kitchen to whip up another stack of wheat cakes. When Aunt May is out of earshot, Jay confesses to Otto, "I've never seen May so happy. I have to admit, Peter, I used to feel you took her for granted. The way you'd skip appointments or rush off early. But the attention you've given her lately, it's clear to me now how much you really do care." "I'm pleased to hear you say that, Jay. It's part of the reason I went into business for myself. Of course, there's the expectation of success and the desire to forge my own path. But it's also true that I took a hard look at my life and realized it was quite the spectacular mess. I can't promise I'll never have to run off again. Owning a startup means you never clock out. And there's still the work I do for Spider-Man. Jay steps forward. I'm glad you brought up Spider-Man. I know May's asked you to sever ties with him, and I agree with her. The fact that you still work for him worries us. He's become so brutal lately. It's getting harder to tell the difference between him and the criminals he fights. Peter tells Jay, I know how it looks, but he's been reevaluating things too, realizing it's stupid to let killers and psychopaths literally get away with murder. And to be brutally honest, I'm not in a financial position to pass up the income he pays me. Does he pay you enough to be a target? I haven't told May because it just frightened her, but I heard what happened not long ago. The hobgoblin snatched you right off the street in broad daylight. I realized you escaped with Spider-Man's help, but as long as you work for him, the men like that know it. If anything happened to you, it would just kill May. I understand your concern, but I'm asking you to trust me, Jay, and to believe me when I tell you I will never let anything hurt that woman. You're a good man, Peter Parker. I suppose I owe you the benefit of the doubt. And you're as much of a reason for Aunt May's happiness as I am. I can't thank you enough. Later, as Otto leaves the condo, he reminisces on his past experiences with Aunt May. She is honestly such a dear woman. Jay was right. Peter never truly appreciated her. Of course, when May and Otto first met, he hardly conducted himself any better, exploiting a widow's loneliness because she'd inherited something he wanted. How vividly he can recall his shame when he realized what a good person she was, and that he was behaving like the common criminal that the small-minded always accused Dr. Octopus of being. But that's in the past. Peter Parker's body and life are now his, and with them the opportunity to correct his mistakes as well as Peter's. Parker certainly made an inordinate amount. Jay has a point. What kind of imbecile creates a masked identity to protect himself from his enemies, only to paint a target on his back by declaring he is Spider-Man's minion? Just another mess Otto will have to clean up. But it can wait. With the Kingpin neutralized, few men possess that knowledge. And Otto pities any fool enough to come after him. Otto boards a subway in order to head home. He detests the subway, but there's no better place to test the strength of the signals coming from his spider eyes. Letting the bots patrol the city for him has freed time he can use for more productive pursuits. But Otto must know they can reach him anywhere, even deep underground. Suddenly, Otto's spider app buzzes. One of his spider bots is sending in an alert now. At first, Otto believes it to be some petty crime that he can simply notify the police of. But when he checks his phone, the feed is coming directly from the spider bot watching over Aunt May and Jay. Immediately, Otto pushes his way through the crowd until he is free to jump on top of the train car. He rips off his shirt and demands his suit to equip itself before bursting a hole in a nearby sewer grate and crawling his way to the surface. Back at the condo, Blackout kicks down the door. Aunt May screams at the bleach-white creature with claws and hides behind Jay. Jay, on the other hand, picks up a metal poker from the fireplace and holds it up to the intruder. Thick clouds of black fog begin to seep from Blackout's skin. Heh. He chuckles as he steps closer to the two. You have courage, old man. I'll give you that. But I'm afraid for you. It's lights out. Soon, the whole room is filled with the fog and painted so dark that May and Jay cannot see even an inch in front of them. May shrieks as Blackout snatches her in his grasp. May! Jay calls out. May, where are? Oh! He falls over in the darkness. He holds his weapon up to protect himself. But Blackout grabs the poker and bends the metal with his bare hand until it breaks. Spider-Man desperately swings as fast as he can from the other side of town. His spider bot is failing him. He orders the bot to go infrared, ultraviolet, the entire spectrum. He needs to see something other than darkness. He then gets an incoming call from Jay, telling him to get back to the condo at once. When Otto arrives, he sees that the door is off the hinges and runs into the room. Jay, are you? I'm fine, Peter. But May... Jay sobs with his face buried in shame. He's taken May. And you let him, Otto thinks. You? No, he's an old man. There's nothing he could have done. Get a hold of yourself, Otto. He places his hand on Jay's shoulder. Get a hold of yourself, Jay. Tell me what happened. Jay looks up slowly. He called himself Blackout. His face. He was hideous, Peter. He's after you. He said if I call the police, my son, anyone, he'll know, and he'll kill her. Jay hands Otto a cell phone Blackout left for him. It's cheap, disposable, untraceable. His instructions for Jay were to call Peter and tell him that he, too, should follow the instructions to the letter if they ever wanted to see May alive again. But this is surprisingly good news, Otto concludes. This means Blackout wants something from him. That means he won't hurt May until he gets it. Jay protests. But then what? How do we stop him if we can't find him? You didn't see him. He's insane. Every time she screamed, he laughed. Otto tells Jay, if you've never believed anything I've told you, believe this. I am going to get your wife back to you, safe and sound, by any means necessary. Otto goes back to his lab on Spider Island and awaits Blackout's call. It doesn't take long. The burner phone buzzes, and Otto answers the call. This is Parker. I want proof of life or our conversation is over. A grainy voice echoes through the lab. Of course. Just a moment. The sound of Aunt May weeping grows louder from the background. Peter? Don't risk yourself. Call the police. Aunt May, Otto mutters. Then, Blackout's voice returns. Don't listen to her, boy. I gave you proof of life. Should you cross me, I can just as easily provide proof of death. What do you want? Sabotage, Blackout says coolly. I want you to compromise Spider-Man's equipment. Web fluid that clogs, goggles that go dark, those ubiquitous robots that catch a virus. I believe I could kill him regardless, but an unexpected system failure should give me all the advantage I need. Peter responds, I have no way of knowing when I'll see him next. For your aunt's sake, I hope it's soon. I do get bored easily. I'll check in daily from a new disposable phone each time. If you fail to answer, you won't like what's left on your voicemail. Oh, and if you have any quaint notions of tracing this, we'll be long gone. A cell phone in the trash is all you will find. A few final words. If I see a single spider bot, she dies. If I see Thor fly overhead, she dies. If I wake up in a bad mood, she dies. Do not test me, boy. I'm a reasonable man, but I am also an accomplished, imaginative, unrepentant killer. Never forget that. You're a fool! Otto spits as he slams down his fist and shatters the cell phone. You're not dealing with Parker or Spider-Man. You've made an enemy of the superior Spider-Man, and you have no idea what I am capable of. I am not the police or some inept telecommunications company. My spider eyes blanket the entire city. They triangulated your position the moment you called. They can watch you from a distance without you ever realizing it. Of course, as long as you have May, I can afford no mistakes. A circumstance that would indeed give you the advantage if you faced an opponent who made mistakes. You think you know some things about me. It's time I learned more about you. Spider-Man makes a call to Danny Ketch, the former Ghost Rider. Blackout? Danny asks, surprised. Yeah, I know him. He killed my sister. I fought my share of psychos as Ghost Rider, but he was one of the worst. He'll find out what you care about most and take it from you. No one's off limits. Women, kids, and he'll commit murder with less thought than you and I give to what size coffee we want. I thought he was dead, but I guess that only means so much when a guy's half demon. Not sure how much help I am without powers, but if you want a hand. Spider-Man interrupts. No need, Ketch. I'm not certain it's him just yet. Following a tip, it could be the other Blackout, with the Masters of Evil, the one with the ridiculous lightning bolt on his head. But, as a precaution, I'm gathering information on your old enemy. Strengths, weaknesses, that sort of thing. Danny looks sternly into the camera. Well, he's strong, fast, durable. Razor-sharp claws and teeth, likes to rip out throats, and he can utterly suck the light out of a room. He's sensitive to sunlight, not burning into flames sensitive, but it hurts. My advice, I know this isn't your style, but if you have to fight him, kill him, or you're putting a noose around the neck of everyone you love. Otto despises the supernatural, but the Ketch boy raised a point he cannot ignore. Simply killing this miscreant may not end his threat. A truly intelligent man knows when he is outside his field of expertise. Otto wonders, should he contact one of Parker's allies who specializes in the field? A man like Dr. Strange may provide answers, but he dwells in the world of aura, clairvoyance. He might well discern the truth about Otto. Is Otto being selfish to not want to enlist his aid, placing his own self-preservation above May's life? What kind of man? No, better to ask, what kind of man places those he claims to love in danger with carelessness? Answer, a man like Peter Parker. Otto has taken on the Herculean task of correcting Peter's mistakes, cleaning up his messes. Otto is the superior in every way, and he shall prove it. Later, in the dead of night, Otto arrives just outside a large and apparently abandoned building. The sign on top reads Abattoir. It's a disguised slaughterhouse. How imaginative. But the building is windowless. Otto can't risk May's safety by straying too close without knowing Blackout's position. With May's leg injury, another result of Parker's incompetence. Her ability to escape Blackout's grasp is severely limited. Otto must wait for Blackout to emerge. And from what he said during their short conversation, Otto knows, eventually, he will. Inside the slaughterhouse, Blackout drags May by the arm. Up, old woman. We're going to call your nephew. Maybe we'll drive to Long Island this time. Maybe I'll make you scream this time. Blackout rolls open the gate and discovers a fleet of spider bots awaiting him. Suddenly, Spider-Man appears, swinging in and kicks Blackout away from May. Blackout crashes into his van parked behind him. The back of his head shatters the windshield. Spider-Man follows up with a flurry of punches, denting the hood of the vehicle under their weight. It's all right, Mrs. Jameson, he tells May. Don't panic. You're safe now. With each punch, more and more blood flies into the air. May shudders at the sight. She slides across the room and places her back against a nearby wall. Blackout lifts up a hand and catches one of Spider-Man's punches. She's scared, he says, speaking of May. Of you, as much as me. She should be. Blackout gets the upper hand and slams Spider-Man down onto the van. Pieces of the engine break apart and shoot out from under the already cracked metal. I warned you! Blackout roars, now leaping for the helpless Aunt May. Tell Parker you killed her! What? As Blackout prepares to slash at May, Spider-Man's Spider-Bots each form around her and produce an orange barrier that protects her from the attack. Robots? Blackout shouts angrily. Yes, Spider-Man answers, springing up and hitting Blackout across the face with a powerful strike. They can generate a force field. No more sabotages, scum. Nothing can save you now. Blackout turns around and chokes Spider-Man. He uses his weight to throw the hero on the ground. Save me? He asks, amused at the very notion. You're the one who dies today! The villain slashes down. Spider-Man jumps to avoid the attack, but is too slow to completely dodge it, and is cut on the side. With his other hand, Blackout grabs onto a nearby meat hook and hits Spider-Man in the face, shattering his optic lenses. "There!" Blackout sneers. Blood drips from his mouth. "I'm not sure the tech you've got in those eyepieces would have helped you anyway." He throws his hands up, and a thick black fog begins to cover the room. "But now, they're clearly useless. As are you." Once the whole room is shrouded in darkness, Blackout makes his move. Spider-Man is able to sense the first attack coming and throws a jab to counter. To admit, Blackout is pretty impressed. "Ah yes, your danger sense. Not bad. But there's a difference between knowing a threat is coming and knowing where it's coming from." He knees Spider-Man in the stomach, grabs Spider-Man from behind, and claws him in the back. Blackout then chokes Spider-Man until the hero helplessly falls to his knees. "Ha!" He laughs. "I don't need Parker at all." He turns to a few of the Spider-Bots scattered across the area. "Is he watching through your robots?" he asks Spider-Man. "I hope so. I want him to see you die. And I want him to see what I do to his aunt after I've crushed the robots protecting her." Blackout drags Spider-Man into the center of the room, in clear view of both Aunt May and all the Spider-Bots. "Take a good look, Peter. This is what trying to be smart gets you." Blackout bares his fangs and then sinks them down into the side of Spider-Man's neck. His victory is cut short by an electric feedback that is enough to overpower even him. Blackout flies backwards and writhes in pain on his back. "Idiot," Spider-Man tells him, pushing himself to his feet. "I was aware of your penchant for tearing out throats. It was child's play to reinforce my neck and booby-trap it." Spider-Man pulls off part of a handrail to a nearby staircase and fashions it into a cane for May. "Not to worry, madam. He's too stunned to threaten you further. Here, use this as a cane. Get to safety. There are police officers in a diner 1 block north and 2 blocks east. They'll see you receive medical attention. I'm sure all this has been a shock," he tells her as he walks her out of the building. "I'll finish up here." Once Spider-Man sees that May is safely on her way, he turns back and approaches Blackout. "So, you thought to restore what I'll laughingly call your reputation?" Spider-Man stomps on Blackout's right elbow, shattering the bone with a crunch. He then stomps on Blackout's left kneecap. "At my expense!" The villain wails in pain. Spider-Man jabs the half-demon in the face, breaking his nose to pieces. "By making an example out of me!" Spider-Man then lifts the villain over his head and walks him over to the meat hooks dangling from the ceiling. "Not a bad idea, actually. You were just wrong about which one of us will make the example and who will be the example." Spider-Man tosses Blackout into the sea of hooks, and enough of them puncture his clothes and skin in order for him to stay suspended in midair. Time passes. All Spider-Man can hear is the sound of blood dripping to the floor at his feet. "Nothing to say?" he asks. Blackout spits in his face. "What are you gonna do to me? Beat me? Break my bones? I'm not a normal human. I'll heal. Good as new. Kill me? I don't think so. I'm no threat to anyone at the moment. You'd only find yourself a target of the police and your fellow Avengers. Lock me up, I'll get out, and then I'll find you. But not until after I found Parker, his aunt, and everyone else you've ever exchanged a kind word with. I'm a half-demon, you idiot," he hisses. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." A spider bot crawls on Spider-Man's shoulder. Within its claw, a pair of pliers. "Nor do you," Spider-Man responds. "But you're about to learn." Spider-Man grabs the pliers and pulls down on Blackout's lower lip, revealing his fangs. "I've never had the opportunity to examine a half-demon. Will your teeth grow back?" What are you?" "Never mind. I'm a man of science. I prefer to learn by doing." Spider-Man begins pulling each and every fang out of Blackout's mouth, one by one. Then, he moves on to the claws. The half-demon's howls in agony even catch up to Aunt May. They send a shiver down her spine. "Fascinating," Spider-Man says, holding up one of the fangs with the pliers. "Your claws seem to be made of keratin, like normal fingernails, but they're much stronger. I'll have to study them further. But back to the task at hand. I'm told you're vulnerable to sunlight, yes? I can't wait around till dawn, but I did bring a solar simulator." One of the spider bots produces a miniature light. Blackout begs Spider-Man to stop. A pool of blood is produced underneath him from the constant outpour from his gums and fingertips. Please, you win! I'm sorry. I swear I'll never cross you again. I'll leave the country. I'll do whatever you want. Please. Spider-Man picks up the light and holds it up to Blackout. Yes, you will do what I want. And what I want is this. Tell all your misbegotten ilk, tell anyone who will listen, that Peter Parker is off limits. If he, his aunt, anyone else associated with him or associated with me is harmed, harassed, or inconvenienced in any way, if they are killed in a mugging or a car accident, if they die from what seems to be a natural heart attack, if they so much as get jostled on the subway, I will find out who is responsible, and what I do to them will make what I've done to you seem like the most tender of mercies. Yes, Blackout tells him. Yes, I'll deliver the message. I'll make sure everyone understands. Spider-Man turns on the machine, and the modified beam of light burns Blackout's skin to the point that it starts to bubble. You will, indeed. The next day, Otto is leaving a flower shop before heading to the hospital to check on May's condition. He bumps into a man in a sweatsuit on the way out of the shop. Watch yourself, idiot! Sorry, the man says as he steals Otto's wallet. My bad. The man in the sweatsuit walks away and examines its contents. It's not long until he reads the name on the photo ID. "Dude!" he screams, sprinting back to Otto. He hands Otto back his wallet, saying, "I didn't know you were Peter Parker, I swear! I would have never. I'm sorry, don't tell Spider-Man, okay? Please, I've got kids. For the love of God, I've got kids!" Otto watches the man run down the sidewalk and sneers. "Yes, I think this will do." Below Manhattan, the Goblin Knight and the Goblin King share a brief discourse. The Goblin Knight kneels down and advises, "You should see this Blackout guy. I mean, I swear, one look and I lost my lunch. Words out, the spider's not playing."
"Interesting,"
the king responds.
"A reaction like this. He's shown his belly."
"Boss, with all due respect, this ain't the guy you remember. He's changed. Some people even think he's losing it. He's got everyone scared to cross him. The wise guys, the cartels, the masks. He's not playing by the same rules. Total wild card. No one knows what he's gonna do. I mean, yeah, he showed he gets mad when you mess with people close to him. But if he's gonna be this hardcore about it, why take the chance?" The Goblin King looks down at his knight and chuckles.
"Why?"
he asks.
"I should think that's obvious. It's a tradition."